Once upon a time, there was a young man named Tenzin who lived in a small village near the mountains. Tenzin had made many mistakes in his life. He had hurt people with his words, wasted opportunities, and often felt angry at himself. Every time something went wrong, he would carry the burden of regret in his heart. As the years passed, the weight of these regrets grew heavier, and Tenzin became miserable. One day, desperate for peace, Tenzin went to see a wise Buddhist monk who lived at the top of the mountain. After listening to Tenzin pour out his pain, the monk gave him a task. He handed Tenzin a thick rope and said, "Tie a knot in this rope for every regret you carry in your heart." Tenzin sat down and began tying knots, one for every hurtful word, missed opportunity, and wrong decision. By the time he was done, the rope was filled with dozens of tight knots. The monk looked at the knotted rope and said, "Now, carry this rope with you everywhere you go, and come back after a week." Tenzin did as he was told. At first, carrying the rope wasn't too difficult. But as the days passed, the rope became heavier and more exhausting to hold. It tangled and dragged behind him, slowing him down. He couldn't move freely, and the knot seemed to grow tighter every day. By the end of the week, Tenzin was exhausted and frustrated. He returned to the monk, threw the rope at his feet, and said, "This rope is unbearable. The knots make everything harder. I can't live like this anymore." The monk smiled gently and said, "Isn't this how you've been living all along, Tenzin? Every regret, every mistake you hold onto, is like a knot in your heart. It weighs you down and makes your journey through life harder." Tenzin looked at the rope and realized the truth in the monk's words. "But how do I untie the knots? How do I let go?" he asked. The monk replied, "You cannot change the past, but you can choose to forgive yourself. With every act of self-forgiveness, a knot will loosen. With every lesson you learn from your mistakes, a knot will unravel. It takes time, but if you are kind to yourself, the rope will become light, and one day, it will disappear." Tenzin sat quietly for a moment, holding the rope. Slowly, he began to untie the first knot, whispering, "I forgive myself for not knowing better." The monk smiled. "That's how it begins, Tenzin, one knot at a time." The moral of the story is, the story teaches that we all make mistakes, but holding on to regret only makes life harder. True peace comes from forgiving ourselves, learning from the past, and letting go of what we cannot change. The journey to happiness begins with kindness towards yourself. That's all for today. Stay fit and motivated, and I shall be back with another such video. Till then, share this one with your friends and family. Thanks for watching.